I'm going to show you now another use for our blossom cutter. This is a beautiful christening cake top, or it could be a first birthday cake top, anything like that. It's very, very pretty, which is the baby under the coverlet in the blossom. Now, first of all, for this, we need to cut our blossom out because it's got to dry before you can actually use it. So we've got two different sizes of blossom cutter, and I'm going to make that first. Let's take these out. Now, I've actually made two formers for this because, and I've made them out of a thick piece of foil. I folded some foil up and I've hollowed it out, and it's really quite rigid, so it makes really a nice former. And another one, roughly the same, so you can easily make those yourself. So I'm going to start with some pale pink paste for this one, or I suppose if it's going to be for a boy you could put perhaps yellow paste or something, even blue, it wouldn't matter really. So I'm going to roll this out first. And it wants to be not too thin, but then again it wants to be thin enough not to look clumsy. So I think that's about thin enough. So you can feel if it's even with your fingers. You'll get used to using the paste and you'll feel where the bumps are. So we need to cut two sizes, which is this size first, which is the largest one. Again, round the edge so that you know that all the bits are off it and it's not ragged. And then we want one of the next size down. There's only little bits. Now just take your knife and get them away, because sometimes it does leave little bits on it. Just trim them up so you make sure that it's smooth. Again, I'll put one under the cling film and my paste put away to use again. It's just a very good habit to get into. I'm going to get my paintbrush, as you know, my favourite tool, and I'm going to go around the edge of this blossom, just gently so it gives it a bit of movement. And then, as soon as I've gone round the edge, and made that softer, I'm going to put it on my hand. As I said before, you may find that you work much better on a foam pad, but as I said, I feel much happier me doing it on my hand. I feel more in control of what's going on. But it's personal choice, so I'm just going to hollow that slightly out. And then we're going to put it in the former to dry. So we get that nice blossom shape. I actually moulded these in a shower baking tin so they've got exactly a nice shape. So where you put your fairy cakes, sometimes you get a nice rounded one, and it's very nice to put those in. Again, we're going to do this one the same. Not too frilled, just gently round it. Just to soften the edge so it doesn't look like a cut edge and it gives it a little bit of movement. And we're nearly there. And again, a little bit of corn flour. We always use corn flour for sugar paste, for the flour paste. Don't use icing sugar, use corn flour. Most important. Because if you use icing sugar, it would become very sticky. And then for this one, it is just slightly smaller than the other one. And there it is in there. And that will leave at least 24 hours. In fact, you'd be better off if you left it 48 hours because you want it to be really hard when you come to use it. Now, the next step is when this is dry, and I've actually got two here. I actually made those about 1 week ago, so they are really nice and hard and they won't break when I try to use them. And the first thing I'm going to do is I need a piece of white paste to mount the flower on. So I'm going to take a piece of that and mount the flower and also to be able to stick my leaves into it for the base of the blossom. So I don't want that to be rolled out very far, so I'm going to form a circle with that. And with some glue, I'm going to paint the bottom, paint onto the silver board, and I'm going to place that in the centre. Ideally, you should leave that for a couple of hours before you use it, but I'm going to use it straight away so I can show you how it's done. And the first thing to do is we're going to put a little bit of flour paste onto there, and we're going to place our first blossom in it, on it. Then a little more glue in the centre of that one, and the next one goes to it. Now at this stage, You can tint the edge of your blossom a little darker if you wish. I showed you how to do that in a previous project, so now we're going to put the baby into the blossom. And the baby is made up of some white paste, which we will form into a ball. So we've actually got a little ball of paste, and then another ball slightly bigger, which we will just roll out to a long shape. And that actually is the form of your baby, because we don't actually see the baby. So this is one I made a little earlier and is hard still, is hard already. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to put a little bit of paste into the centre of the rose, because of the blossom, because then it's not so deep, the baby. Because if you try to put the baby in now, it's a little bit too deep there. So there's a little bit of a paste there. Ideally you need to let this dry in between, because if you don't it moves, but I'll manage. And there's the baby's head, which we'll put in with some glue. And the body, which we'll put there. And what I've done is then out of some green paste. You can make it slightly darker or make it lighter, it depends on what you want it to be. You can match the petals up. I'm going to make the coverlet slightly darker. Just so you can see it on there. So roll it out. And I'm going to cut out a shape. And of course for this one, it doesn't want to be wired, so we'll lay it on the veiner, make a vein, and I'm going to vein just the top of it. And then I'm going to put a little bit of glue onto the baby and around the side. And we're only going to see the very, very top of the baby's head. Very, very top. And you can give it a bit of movement. So there's the cover for the baby. And if you have a look on this one, I've actually just tinted with a little bit of petal dust, a little bit of brown petal dust, to make so it looks as if the baby's hair is there, and that's all you can actually see of the baby. So as much colouring and tinting as you want to do, you've got to decide yourself how you'd like it to look. So you actually only just see his head. Now for the outside leaves that cover the base, I've made some just ordinary leaves by the easy method, not the centre vein method. And I'm going to cut, and I've wired them, I'm going to cut the wire and I'm going to insert them around the baby in his cradle. And my wiring, excuse me, I didn't have my bin ready. And I've actually shaped those so they're just slightly bent and cut so it will cover the base. Perhaps it ought to be a bit nearer. This makes a beautiful christening cake toppers, or a baby shower cake, or anything like that. It really is a pretty one. As I say, you can adapt it to be for a girl or a boy. I suppose if you don't know whether it's going to be a girl or boy for a baby shower, you could actually just do it in yellow. It would suit either. And when that dries, it will be very, very sturdy. Perhaps I could have done with one more in there, but it's given you the main idea of how it's done. These are slightly smaller leaves. In the original one I've made slightly bigger leaves, so it's up to you how you want to do it. It gives you a little bit of designing yourself. It will dry and it will be very steady. And that's how you put together the baby and the flower.